which you can understand. It's been a very long time since he's seen them. What's in the works?
Days ago that the King did indeed send a birthday present to Lilibet. He has only met her once. It seems an awful shame, doesn't it, that the relationship between himself and Archie and Lilibet.
There is this underlying sadness, of course, because of the rift that the King is not seeing his grandchildren. I think he's only met Lilibet possibly once.
What if I told you that Charles's rejection of his grandchildren wasn't cruel but brilliant? That denying two small children entry to Buckingham Palace was the most sophisticated power move in modern royal history? The world saw a grandfather rejecting grandchildren. Strategic minds saw something else entirely: institutional memory defeating emotional manipulation. This wasn't family drama. This was chess at its highest level.
They are 7th and 8th, I think they are, in line to the throne. Growing up on the on the west coast of America, and with American accent.
The battlefield wasn't Buckingham Palace's gates. It was legitimacy itself. Harry arrived thinking he held powerful cards: innocent children, public sympathy, family bonds. But he'd misread the game entirely. Charles wasn't playing father, he was playing king. And kings understand something princes never learn until it's too late. Institutions survive by refusing to negotiate with those who've already left. The moment Harry demanded palace access for his children, he revealed his catastrophic strategic blindness.
There, he definitely doesn't see his relationship with his son as should be standing in the way of his grandchildren. Hopefully, that's something that can be repaired, even if his relationship isn't on the mend with his son.
Harry thought he was requesting a visit. Charles heard something else: an attempt to backdoor legitimacy after publicly destroying it. This is strategic thinking at its purest. When someone burns bridges, then returns demanding passage, granting it doesn't show mercy, it shows weakness. Every seasoned negotiator knows this rule. You cannot simultaneously attack an institution and demand its privileges. The palace understood what Harry didn't. Precedent is everything.
One day heal this rift, we don't know, but at the moment, I don't think there's much prospect of it.
I remember during the Platinum Jubilee, when the late Queen was still alive, Harry and Meghan were over, obviously, and they took Lily.
The custody angle reveals Harry's desperation, but also his tactical naivety. Establishing UK residence for his children through palace photographs would create legal precedent. Smart on paper, catastrophic in execution. Why? Because it required Charles's cooperation after Harry had spent years ensuring Charles could never cooperate. This is what happens when tactical thinking meets strategic patience. The institution simply waited while Harry exhausted his options.
Turned up with a photographer, and the photographer was prevented from coming into Windsor Castle for many reasons. Firstly, the Queen wasn't very...
The security contradiction exposed the fatal flaw. Harry claimed Britain was too dangerous while demanding his children enter its most visible location. This wasn't just hypocrisy, it was strategic suicide. He handed Charles the perfect justification for rejection. The palace didn't need to argue. Harry's own contradictions made their case. This is how institutional memory works. It remembers every statement, every claim, every position. Then it waits for the contradictions to emerge.
Come into Windsor Castle. Do you think Harry and Meghan are going about this the right way with Lilibet and Archie? Obviously, they've taken them over to the...
What transformed this from family dispute to strategic masterclass was timing. Harry arrived after the Netflix series, after the memoir, after the Oprah interview. He'd already monetized every grievance. Charles understood something brutal. Harry had nothing left to threaten with. He'd already fired every weapon. The palace could reject him without consequence because Harry had already done his worst. This is patience defeating panic.
Well, the big fear that I think the late Queen had, and also the King now has, is that when they turn up, they do tend to turn up with a sort of Netflix film crew or a photographer in tow, and you always get the feeling.
The photographer incident during the Jubilee wasn't about privacy. It was about documentation control. Every image inside palace walls becomes historical record, permanent evidence, legal precedent. By blocking photographers, the palace prevented Harry from creating the very proof he desperately needed. They understood what every intelligence agency knows: control the documentation, control the narrative. Harry wanted pictures. The palace gave him nothing.
And even if the Queen might have been, struggling with her health, I think she was still sharp.
Meghan's absence revealed the partnership fracture. Not showing up wasn't avoiding drama. It was strategic abandonment. She understood what Harry didn't. This battle was already lost. By staying in California, she preserved her options while Harry destroyed his. This is advanced psychological warfare. Let your partner take the damage while maintaining plausible deniability. Classic preservation through sacrifice.
The name Lilibet was chosen in the first place. I think she was a little bit upset by that. And so, yes, she put her foot down and said no photographs. And I must admit, I don't.
The birth documentation mystery served the palace perfectly. Ambiguity became armor. By never fully acknowledging or rejecting questions about the children's circumstances, the palace created perpetual uncertainty. This is institutional genius. You don't need to accuse. You simply allow doubt to exist. Harry's demand for palace access would have required resolving that ambiguity. Charles chose continued mystery over forced clarity. The financial support demand exposed Harry's true position: resource depletion. He wasn't requesting family reunion, he was seeking refinancing. This is what strategic analysis reveals. Follow the money, find the motive. Harry needed palace endorsement to maintain commercial value. Charles understood that granting access meant subsidizing competition. No strategic mind would make that error.
I think of one. I think of one. I mean, she's Lilibet Diana. I mean, these are two of the most photographed, two of the most famous people in the world that she's named after.
Here's what nobody discusses. Charles won before Harry arrived. The king held every card that mattered: physical space, institutional authority, documentation control, financial independence. Harry held only emotional appeals. In strategic conflict, emotion without leverage equals defeat. Charles didn't need to be cruel. He simply had to be patient. Time was his weapon. Each day that passed weakened Harry's position. The British public's reaction revealed mass strategic literacy. They recognized performance when they saw it. Harry wasn't a father seeking connection. He was a brand seeking endorsement. The palace didn't need to explain their rejection. The public understood instinctively. This is how institutions survive, by aligning with public strategic sense rather than fighting it. The amended birth certificates created perfect strategic ambiguity, not enough irregularity to prove deception, too much inconsistency to establish clarity. This is defensive documentation at its finest. Create enough confusion that any claim can be neither proven nor definitively disproven. Harry needed clear documentation for his children's legitimacy. The palace ensured he'd never have it. Netflix and Spotify deals revealed Harry's strategic poverty. He'd traded permanent position for temporary payment. Classic short-term thinking. The palace operates in centuries. Harry operates in quarters. This mismatch meant Harry would always lose the long game. Charles knew the streaming deals would end. The monarchy wouldn't. Patience versus panic. Institution versus individual. The Lilibet name revealed attempted legitimacy theft. Using the Queen's private nickname without clear permission was strategic aggression disguised as honor. The palace response? Silent non-recognition. They neither validated nor confronted. This is advanced strategic communication. Sometimes the most powerful response is no response. Let the aggression exhaust itself against silence. What makes this brilliant is its simplicity. Charles didn't scheme or manipulate. He simply refused to move. This is strategic judo. Use your opponent's force against them. Harry's demands, his contradictions, his desperation, all became weapons against himself. The palace didn't attack. They simply stood still while Harry defeated himself. The psychological profile is textbook. Harry exhibited every marker of strategic desperation: public demands, emotional appeals, contradiction acceptance, timeline pressure. Charles exhibited strategic patience: private decisions, rational responses, consistency maintenance, timeline control. This wasn't personal. It was predictable. Any strategic analyst could have called this outcome. This reveals the template for institutional victory over individual challenge. Don't engage emotion with emotion. Don't match escalation. Simply maintain position and let mathematical probability work. Institutions have structural advantages individuals can never match. The palace knew this. Harry learned it too late. The custody speculation missed the real game. This wasn't about legal positioning. It was about commercial viability. Harry needed palace association to maintain media value. Without it, he's just another ex-royal in California. Charles understood. Denying palace access meant denying commercial future. The rejection wasn't personal. It was terminal. Future battles will follow this template. When individuals challenge institutions, watch for the patience differential. Whoever can wait longer wins. Whoever needs resolution loses. The palace can wait forever. Harry needed resolution yesterday. This asymmetry determined everything. The media manipulation failed because it misunderstood modern information dynamics. Leaking rejection stories hurt Harry, not Charles. Why? Because it confirmed institutional strength versus individual weakness. Every headline about Charles saying no reinforced royal authority. Harry thought publicity was pressure. It was actually proof of his powerlessness. This changes how we understand every future royal conflict. The palace has learned it can simply wait. Time dissolves individual challenges. Patience defeats passion. Structure beats story. Harry taught them they don't need to fight. They just need to endure. For anyone facing institutional conflict, the lesson is clear. You cannot defeat structures through emotion. You cannot shame systems into compliance. You need leverage, patience, and strategic clarity. Harry had none. Charles had all. The outcome was predetermined by this imbalance. The real genius wasn't in what Charles did. It was in what he didn't do. He didn't argue, didn't explain, didn't engage. He simply said no and let reality do the rest. This is strategic mastery, knowing when action is unnecessary because positioning is sufficient. In your own life, remember this template. When someone who burned bridges returns demanding passage, your response determines future behavior. Accommodation encourages repetition. Rejection establishes boundaries. Charles taught Harry and the world a brutal lesson. Actions have permanent consequences. You cannot destroy, then demand rebuilding. The truly sophisticated move? Charles made Harry's children collateral damage of Harry's own choices. Brutal but brilliant. By forcing Harry to explain to his children why they couldn't enter the palace, Charles made Harry confront his own decisions' consequences. The punishment wasn't rejection. It was forcing Harry to own his choices. This wasn't cruelty. It was strategic education delivered at institutional scale. The lesson? You cannot have it both ways. You cannot attack and belong. You cannot destroy and demand. You choose your path, then live with the consequences. Harry chose California and Netflix. Charles simply confirmed that choice was permanent.